I've kind of shifted in the mindset of it's really not that deep when you really think about it. Like, it's really not that deep. It's a privilege to be able to complain about certain things. Hello, welcome back to the podcast Evolve with me, Lewis, and that's it. Sam's away this week, so this is a solo episode, and Sam's out tasting wedding cakes. So I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to do a solo episode. It's something which I've been wanting to do for when one of us was out. And I thought, you know what? Let's just give it a go. Let's just give it a go and see what goes on. And it's been 38 seconds and this already feels very weird. And it's weird because I always have Sam as a prompt to look at, and obviously I'm always talking to someone, and now I'm just looking at myself and thinking, you narcissistic prick, like, who do you think you are? Why are you talking on your own? Like, just do an episode of Sam. And it's because I can. I'm doing this because I can. And it's free content. And oh God, that was a voice break. I won't cut that out. Oh God, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it was. But you know what? We grow, we move. So yeah, Sam's out. Sam's tasting cakes for his wedding. You know, I know he's just walking around with a fork, just dipping into different cakes and being all giddy and doing that laugh he does. And I know he's having a great time. And you know what? I'm happy for him. He deserves a little break. And I think we're going to do an episode on the Sunday. It's currently Thursday night at the moment. And I think we'll do a session Sunday night, which will be the next one. And that will be back to normal, and I won't feel so awkward and uncomfortable. So Sam, I already miss you, and it's already been 2 minutes, right? My goal is to hit 40. I think 40 minutes is doable, and I've had some ideas of what I would do. Sam already told me yesterday that he wasn't going to be about, so this has all been planned within 24 hours notice, and I've jotted some things down. And I hope you guys stick around. I hope you guys enjoy it. Otherwise, this one's sort of a recycling bin. So I want this one to do well. Not too well, because that would be insulting to Sam. And Sam will be pissed if this one's like the most listened to one. But do it well enough so that's not at the bottom of the pile. So if you love me, please. Otherwise, yeah. Again, I'm just chatting for no reason. Yeah, I jotted some things down. I thought it would be good because the next episode you guys are going to have is the journaling one. That's coming out tomorrow. So I thought, why don't I dip into my old journal, one from like last year, and like dip into that, see what kind of things I was worrying about, see what I was thinking about, and just kind of see where the growth is. But I've jotted some things down on the whiteboard as well. And one of the things I wanted to start with was gratitude. And, you know, I always thank you guys for being here, but I don't think I do it enough. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for supporting me and Sam so far. Our podcast isn't a thing that everyone does. And the thing is, it's like, you hear a lot of people actually say like, oh, everyone's trying to do a podcast, but it's usually people that are famous and they get a following really quickly. And Sam and I are like, you know, nobody's in the grand scheme of things, but we're doing it because it's something that's bigger than us, and a lot of you are very supportive, which is great. And I think a lot of people didn't give a shit, or just as the first one to see how terrible it was. But those of you that stuck around, we appreciate you. And I wanted to take this moment and also to fill up the 40 minutes to express that, because a lot of close friends are just like, oh, cool, yeah, do that. And it can be seen as quite an obnoxious thing to do at times, but that being said, we think it fits quite a unique purpose to kind of talk about our development as we're ongoing. If you've been around from day one, you know that. I think it would be different if it was a different podcast where Sam and I would 100% chat shit. We have had episodes where we do 70-80% chat shit. But we had a conversation on that the other week and was like, you know what, we need to actually focus and stay on topic. So I hope you've enjoyed the last like 3 or 4 episodes, because that's when we're like, okay, we actually keep on going on a tangent. We actually need to stay focused, deliver value. And I think we've been doing that recently. And yeah, I feel really happy about it. But yeah, gratitude. I think one of the things which has been on my mind, particularly today, I listened to an episode which Rosie sent me, which was an episode of a podcast with Mo Gordat. And he was like a former chief business officer at Google. And he was saying how, I think in like 2014, he lost his son and he was 21 years old. And he really wanted to focus on basically turning that horrible, horrible event into positive energy and making people happy. Cut a long story short, he mentioned how gratitude is basically a key to becoming happier. And, you know, the example which he used is like, you know, when you're stuck in traffic, it could be really inconvenient and people get really upset when they're stuck in traffic. But if you kind of try and spin it on its head, your brain's very good at focusing on the negative. And you thought, okay, well, think about the positives of being stuck in traffic. If you're in a car, obviously, you know, you are in a vehicle that can get you from place A to B. You know, you might be on the way to work, you might be on the way to meet your loved one. You're basically saying, like, you know, if you're born in Western society, obviously I'm in the UK, it's like you have it better than the majority of the world, like 98%. You know, your belly's full, you have a roof over your head, you know, you have a job, you have money. If you're listening to this, you know, you have a device, you have access to so much information. The majority of the world is in deep shit. Like, a lot of people, if you listen to this pod, you don't have to worry about, you know, your home being destroyed, country being at war. And what I've kind of taken on board after listening to this is that gratitude comes hand in hand with like adding perspective on your current situation. And I've mentioned this before in previous pods where, you know, your problems are real, your problems are valid, your feelings are valid. However, your problems are better than majority of the world's problems. So it's very easy to be like, oh, this is the worst I've ever been. This problem is the worst thing that's ever happening to me. But after gaining some perspective, particularly in the past few weeks, I think this has kind of been an arc for me. But I've decided to, you know, when it's like things at work and people are, you know, complaining about this campaign or this campaign and things like that, I've kind of shifted in the mindset of, it's really not that deep when you really think about it. Like, it's really not that deep. It's a privilege to be able to complain about certain things. And it's silly too, in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's a privilege to be able to have aspirations of having a really successful company and, you know, having some amazing experiences that I wish to have. It is a privilege to even be able to think to do that. Some people just want to have a job. And, you know, I consider myself, when you're in the wide perspective of things, I consider myself to be very fortunate. I have both my parents. I still have a grandparent, and I'm 28 years old. I have a brother. All my family are really healthy right now. And you know what? It's great that I can just, you know, call them and see them whenever I like, because there's a lot of people who don't. So when you actually think about what you do have and what actually makes you happy, I'm rich. I'm very, very rich in those ways, because as long as, don't get me wrong, I love my material possessions. Well, I like a nice watch. I like nice fitting clothes and things like that. But to be fair, I know they don't make me happy. They're just like nice things to have. But like, if anything happens to them, I'm not like going to be like destroyed or traumatized about it. But I know what makes me happy, and I've known for a while. And, you know, I have a very close group knit of friends. I have Rosie, who loves me very much, and she's gorgeous, she's smart, she's intelligent. And in this crazy world where, you know, people are trying to find someone, I've already found someone. And that's something which I'm very grateful for. And I'm rich in so many different ways. just not in the financial sense. And that's like the only like real like problem. It's not really a problem that I have, but it's just something which I'm striving for. And it's a privilege to be able to complain about that. So I've got a bit of a new perspective on things. And I really want to take that going forward. And looking back on my journal in the past year, work has been something which I have complained about extensively and seeing it as a problem. But maybe I'm also in the mindset of like, maybe things happen for a particular reason. And maybe I've been in my current role for the duration I have, despite trying to, move around, move industry, move career, start something new. Maybe this is what the role has taught me. Maybe not things that I want to do long term, but maybe it's been a lesson because I was writing stuff about work like, oh God, I really want to leave. Hope I'm out of here by X point or by this month or whatever. And obviously it didn't happen. But what it has taught me is what is actually important to me and what to stress about. And I've already said, like, my dad has already said, like, happiness is accepting where you are and where you currently are. And I haven't been accepting it for quite some time. My situation hasn't changed, but I feel like I have changed. Because the things that were stressing me out and, dreading going to work and things like that, don't get me wrong, those feelings are valid and those feelings are real and my feelings were valid. But I think I've kind of rose above it recently, because there was an example last week where basically got yelled to on like a Friday morning about like, marketing, advertising campaigns not going live and, things that, and the thing is, these things that occurred were not my fault, nor were they my responsibility. But a frequent thing that happens is that I'll be scapegoated for certain things. And when this individual was yelling to me and whatever, a year ago, that would have pissed me off significantly for a long time. I want to say a long time. Probably would piss me off that day. Probably would have made me dread going to work the following week. But when this was happening, I was kind of I looked at them and I was like, what, this isn't actually that deep. And to be so annoyed about these certain things, like to your core, like it's your company and etc., it's just not that important. And don't get me wrong, if you have frustrations, be frustrated. Like, obviously people want to be good at their jobs. I'm not saying don't give a shit about your job. But what I am saying is that you should control the amount that you get invested in things that aren't important in the real grand scheme of things. And to add a little bit more context, the thing that was wrong that pissed off this individual significantly was very resolved in a matter of minutes. But I think people can be quite reactive and think the world is going to shit because of this one small thing. And it wasn't that deep. And I think a lot of people get riled up very, very easily. And I think if you have some perspective, you'd actually care a lot less about trivial things, and you can allocate the amount you give a shit to the things that are really important. And I think it's really important to basically allocate the shits that you give, and there should be like a limited amount. Obviously, things happen at work, inconveniences happen all the time, but it's important to not treat them like big, grand problems that are going to ruin your life. Like some people don't like you, some people will be mean to you. You might want certain people to like you, but they won't like you regardless of whatever you do. So you might as well just be yourself. So it's just something that's just been something that's been on my mind recently. I think just kind of going into that, I've definitely been more of myself than I have been in recent years. And it's been really great. I've got my Lego up here. I've got like my Marvel posters up here, and it's just like, it just makes me feel me. And I think when I was growing up, I always wanted to kind of fit in. And if I could go back and, give advice to my former self, it's basically just to embrace more you. I think doing this podcast makes me feel more like me as well, because this is something which I quite like doing. And I think Sam's the perfect partner to have a podcast with, to be honest, because Sam doesn't give a fuck. Like, Sam does what he wants, and Sam's great to have someone to. Sam's great at partnering up with when you might be a bit uncertain about, I don't know if I should get involved in this project because, I'm not sure if that person. Sam's like, yeah, let's do it, and like Sam will feed into like the healthy delusion, maybe unhealthy at times, because Sam has too many things that he wants to do. But when Sam said like, do you want to do a podcast? I was like, yeah, sure, because I know Sam wouldn't be insecure or he wouldn't be uncertain about doing a podcast. He was like, yeah, let's do a podcast because we're podcasters and we're sick and we're going to do this, this, and this. And he gets like really gassed and excited about it, and it makes you really gassed and excited to be involved. Whereas if Sam was like, I don't know, like, should we do it? Then that would kind of snowball. So, and Sam's himself so much. Despite what you said last week, when you're saying like, I'm not sure like who Sam is, but like, I think Sam to me is Sam is super authentic, and he's unapologetically himself in a lot of environments, I would say, and he's definitely helped me embrace or myself like on the pod and stuff, and it helps me relax, because I think with other people who would try and not be too outspoken or not say what they truly think on matters, Sam definitely speaks his mind for sure. And if you've been around since day one, you guys know that Sam, yeah, a lot of the editing will probably go around Sam. I've cut out stuff that Sam says, not that it's like cancelled or anything, but it's like Sam can chat about shit. So yeah, shout out to Sam, man. Yeah, come back, because this is hard. I never actually listened to the ones that Sam did on his own in Evolve version 1. I might have to go back and see how he did. But yeah, it's this is interesting. Wow, I've always been 19 minutes. Okay, this is good. I did write down different things. So I wrote down perspective shift. I wrote down what I've learned in my job. So we've kind of covered that. Work not being so invested. Gratitude I've talked about. Journaling we spoke about. I put thoughts on the pod. I think I'll briefly talk about that. So my thoughts on the pod so far, in terms of like how we get on. Since I just spoke about Sam, fuck it, let's do it. The pods have been really good. I think it's been good for me. I think it's been good for Sam, because going off the bat of what I just said, it's given me less of a shit about what other people think, because we promote the podcast to our whole network of people. People are going to unfollow, people are going to be like cheering you on, and people won't give a shit, but you got to do it because you want to promote your pod, because you think what you're doing is important. And it's kind of helped me not give a shit. So yeah, I think the pod's been great for me mentally, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something other than my job. And that for me is something that makes me feel a lot happier, and again makes me feel more myself. In terms of how we want to grow and develop, I mean, we always have regular discussions on how we can make our episodes better. I think the main thing that we want to do is to end up doing these in person and not on what is effectively Zoom, because I think you guys will be able to see us vibe a lot better. I think the conversations will feel more natural. I mean, they are natural now, but there's always a bit of a lag with these video calls, and in-person conversations are always so much better. And I think we would love to be at a point where we have a studio and set up, and we can do those things. We obviously do all the promotion and the editing, just us two. If there's a point where we can have more people involved, so that we don't have to edit and promote and do the shorts and things like that, and just focus on the quality of the conversation. That is like the dream. And I think Sam would agree with that. Sam would probably go all the way to, selling out shows and O2 and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of like the next big shift, that would be great. I mean, we've done 25 episodes now. I think episode 52, we've said we want to do in person. In terms of like measurements of success, obviously listeners and downloaders is a key metric. I think we have 100 episodes to review it. If at episode 100 we're doing shit, I think we need to reevaluate. And I think 2 years is the trial for me personally, to see whether or not we continue. I think 100 is a good number, and if we feel like we're cooking, or if we think we're just like right at the cusp of, getting somewhere, like in terms of like blowing up or whatever it is, or we have a lot of stuff to talk about, then I think we keep going. But I think 100 is a good checkpoint in terms of like, do we continue? Do we do another 100? Do we do another year? That's just like my initial thinking. But no, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, if we get 100 and like, even if we aren't, super blowing up, but we're enjoying it, we'll keep doing it. What we don't want to do is just have the value diminish, because again, if this was just two mates chatting shit about like anime, movies, TV, whatever, then we can keep doing it for ages because we enjoy it. Not that we don't enjoy this, but we have it's called Evolve. We want to deliver value to help you guys evolve, and we want to see us evolve as well. And if we feel like we aren't doing that, then I think that's the line. So yeah, overall, the pod's going great. It's another thing to juggle with full-time jobs and whatever. But we enjoy doing it. It makes us feel like we have a higher purpose. It helps me feel like I have a higher purpose. Not that I think I'm almighty and stuff like that, but it feels like I'm just delivering better value to the world. That's if the world listens, but I feel like it's a good thing that we're doing. So at the moment, I think it feels great. One thing I put down as well, I wrote time. And why did I write that down? Yeah, I wrote down time because it's just something which I've been thinking about ever since I listened to a podcast episode. And it's basically made me think like, what am I working towards and the things that I want to do? Because really, if you're, in Western society, you're basically trading your minutes. You're trading your minutes for money, but I'm also trading minutes outside of my role with the pod, with editing, for, yes, money, but also so that I can actually have more time for the things that are important to me, which is like spending time with my loved ones and my friends, and and you need obviously financial freedom in order to do those things. And time was just on my mind because I'm trying to, again, linking back to perspective, what I'm working towards, and I want to spend time doing what I love. It doesn't have to be in the form of a company or like generational wealth. I think that's very much Sam's end goal. But for me, the true goal is spending my time the way I want it to. And that could be, again, just like editing. If I'm, being paid well enough, it doesn't have to be millions, but if I'm being paid well enough in an editing job enough to support my family and go on holidays, then that's like my whole categories of my life sorted. If it gets to a point where, Zana Studios is grown and I can delegate, that's also great. But I enjoy both of those scenarios because it's very easy to become a slave to your own company once it's grown, because if you're hiring, 80 people, you have to care about 80 people and their problems and their welfare and things like that, and you got investors. So it's the lifestyle that I want is just spending my time on things that are important to me. And so if Because if you're on a 9 till 5 or 9 till 6, 9 till 6 are kind of like demonized. But if it's doing something that you actually love doing, then it's a great setup because, you will have your weekends. But right now, whilst Sam and I are in our 9 till 6s, our time is very much limited outside of work. It's not like we just do a 9 to 6, come home, and then we're like chilling. It's going into other areas. So we're trading our time at the moment to get more time later. It's that long-term gratification. And yeah, that's kind of like what I want. Your true wealth is in the time that you have. And that's why, it's like things like going to the gym and eating right, chatting to your family, spending time with your partner. And it's just something which I'm trying to shift, because everyone's success or definition of success is different. And one thing which I also did in my journals as well, like the old ones, just like I spoke about this a lot in comparison, but I compared myself to social media, business influencers so much, how successful my brother was as well. But again, all the definitions of success are different. Like if I, become a millionaire, like am I going to post on social media about how rich I am? No, I wouldn't do that. But would I help? Obviously, if the pod blows up, I'll kind of explain the journey. But what I'm basically trying to say is the comparison, it was dumb. It was dumb. Comparison's dumb. And the thing is, when I actually really thought about it, like, would I want to trade places with these people? Like, absolutely not, because they're not doing the things that I like or love to do. So I was like, this is actually pretty stupid when I actually think about it. But the brain is very good at seeing the negative and comparing, even if it's something that you don't want to do. So yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks. I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift. One thing which I wrote down is relationships. I spoke a lot about relationships throughout the pod, and this is where Rosie's smiling because she knows I'm going to talk about her a lot. But yeah, it's really interesting how things can take a turn in the most unexpected way. Because I remember writing in this journal about my year, and it was like in November 2023 I wrote this entry, and it was basically how everything kind of like took a turn. Because one of the things which I wrote about in my journals prior to Rosie was how, I'm ready for a relationship, I'm ready to meet my person and things like that. And then I took a turn and was like, you know what? Nah, I'm just going to focus on me for a while. And then Rosie popped out of nowhere. And then the company started. No, before that, I got my first editing job for the first time, because my goal that year was to get an invoice, and I got like 3 invoices that year for editing. Then the company started. It was actually my goal for this year. And it was great to kind of reflect on that. But reason why I wrote down relationships is like, Rosie's been a key part of that. I'm not saying Rosie is the entire motivation. She is definitely a driver of my motivations, because I now know, like, who I want to spend my life with. And, we have our goals in our relationship of, where you want to live, and, where do you want kids? And, we have our individual plan, which I'll keep to just us two. It's definitely keep me focused, because I've been so open with Rosie about my motivations and where I want to go. I keep on referring to her as my accountability manager, but she is an accountability manager, but she's just the best partner. And she's really helped me focus, not in a way of like, she's standing over my shoulder being like, focus, do editing. But she serves as a reminder for, like, the things that I want to do. And, one thing I dislike doing is saying I'm going to do stuff and not do it. And I don't want to be a liar to myself. And I definitely don't want to lie to Rosie. But during this period as well of, dealing with some shit in work, career stuff, and, trying to develop and grow, it can be very frustrating at times when you aren't where you think you should be. And when you're feeling down on yourself and, feel like things are going to shit, it's great to have a partner that is as supportive as Rosie is. So when I think of gratitude, in this journal, in my current ones, ever since our relationship started, it's like 3 things to journal for. And I say Rosie every single day, just because she's super supportive and doesn't, even if you're single or whatever, it's fine. But having a supportive network is super, super important to talk to about stuff that you're going through. And yeah, I wanted to talk about that just because it's definitely helped me when I was like, oh, should I start the business or should I edit? She's like, yeah, go do that. She sounded nothing like that, but I think this would have been a much more lonely path, and it would have been a lot more difficult the past year and a half without Rosie. And I think for people who are looking to start their own thing, looking to develop themselves in any way, it doesn't have to be starting a business, but like side hustle or changing career path, because that's essentially, I'm kind of like a hybrid of those things. And also, you're looking to date, having someone who understands you fully and understands that not all your time can be dedicated to your partner. It has to be shared with yourself, shared with your side hustle, with your business, with whatever skill it is that you're trying to develop. Having that as an understanding is really, really important, because saying to Rosie now, like, oh, I can't do date night this week because I'm working on X, Y, and Z. And having someone who just accepts that and it's like, oh yeah, sure, no worries. Or, oh, I can't see you this night because of this. Can we do this? Or maybe saying like, this weekend, I really want to work on this project. Having someone who understands that is an investment for the life that you are both trying to create, as opposed to seeing it as time away from them, is the biggest green flag to me. And just having that understanding of you're trying to develop something and you're trying to work on yourself. And Rosie very much understands that, it will pay dividends. It will pay, return on investment, because, when I develop on myself, I feel like a better person and I feel more like myself. And it helps me be more present when we do spend time together, because I've already spent my time in my projects or editing business or whatever it is. So if you are looking to date and you're also trying to juggle with, oh, I can't date right now because I'm hustling and grinding, which was actually my mindset, I strongly urge you to reconsider if the right person comes along, because it's been really great. It's been really great for me. And yeah, I'm grateful for Rosie. I tell her I appreciate her all the time. I should tell her more often. But yeah. Relationships are cool. Relationships are great if you're in the right one. And I love the one I'm in. I want to talk about my favorite books, or books that I think are really great for like mindset, business, whatever it is. Spoke about Atomic Habits. I think that's an awesome book. That's definitely been like one of my life-changing books, just because it helped me kind of design my environment in a way to stick to habits that I want to do, be that with taking vitamins, to cleaning my room, to journaling, to staying with the gym. I highly recommend this book for anyone looking to improve themselves, because it doesn't have to be grand gestures like losing, X amount of kilos or whatever. It's small changes with big impact. And that for me was just like great. I love David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. That's another book which I've talked about as well. It definitely helped with my mindset in terms of developing grit. And I love the 40% rule. I think that for me was really, really great to learn. One book which actually Rosie told me to read. I heard this book a while ago, but Rosie actually forced me to read it. The Midnight Library, which is a book by Matt Haig, and it's a fictional book. And to give a quick synopsis, basically there's this woman who her life is basically going to shit. Her cat died. She lost her job. the band that she left, the like a musical band that she was in, and she basically makes the decision to take her life, take her own life. And basically when she does, she's transported to this library, like in her mind or whatever. And basically there's like a guru there, and basically each of these books in this library is a life that she could have lived in like an alternate timeline. And she like goes into the timeline, and she takes the version of herself when her cat didn't die, or like the one where she stayed with the band, and she basically goes to different versions of her potential lives or her alternate lives, and she's basically unhappy in every single one of them. Or it's like, no, I don't want to live this life. I want to try another one. I want to try another one. I want to try another one. And spoiler alert, we can skip this bit. She inevitably ends up choosing the life that she had at the very, very beginning. I highly recommend people read this book because it definitely consoled me at a particular point last year, because I always used to go like, oh, what if I stuck with this? Or what if I didn't choose this job? What if I stayed here? And da-da-da-da. And it consoled me in a way because it made me think, oh, maybe this is actually the life that I chose to do. And the thing is, all these choices that I had that have led to this point are mine. You made the best decision that you had with the information that you had at the time. And I just think this book is great. I've kind of glossed over it, but I think it can help a lot of people, and it consoled me a lot, even though it's fictional. I think there are a lot of key takeaways in this book. So yeah, those are some certain books that I wish to read. I'm going to read Mo Gawdat's book on well, he has 4 books that are different things, but he talks about stress, and he talks about how to be happier, and he's been like a key sort of like part of my perspective shift over the past few weeks. But I listened to this episode today, so it's all front of mind. But yeah, I think he's an incredible guy. So I suggest you guys go and check him out, because I think his approach, particularly to grief, is really great. And he basically doesn't tie grief to. He basically talks about grief when you're feeling grief. Obviously, it's very real, and he talks about how you feel grief deeper when you tie it to the physical form. And he's quite a spiritual person, and he added some perspectives that I think were really great. So yeah, go check his stuff out, because he's much more intelligent than I on these matters. One of the things I did ask Rosie for some questions, and she said it would be interesting for me to talk about how do I develop. Obviously, it's books. I think books are really important. I don't think it has to be books, but listening to podcasts and books on people who are much smarter than you helps you out. People who have walked on a path which you might want to walk a similar path to is how I develop, I think. And yeah, I think the most important thing for someone to do is take on feedback and take on egoless learning, ask for help, because no one does it on their own. Self-made, billionaire, millionaire, whatever it is, I think it's bullshit, in my personal opinion. I think there are very few self-made people, but everyone gets help along the way. No one does it by themselves. I used to be very much this way. So yeah, ask for help, reach out to people, reach out to strangers, ask like strangers you see on LinkedIn who are doing well in a particular thing. Like, people who I think are more keen to help and offer you advice more so than people think. So I think that's a key part in how I develop in terms of, career stuff. I think it helps you become smarter and, more importantly, wiser. I think wisdom is quite valuable, and you get wisdom. When I say wisdom, I mean basically experience, life experience, and you can get wisdom through certain books. Smart, I think I'm referring more to like book smart and knowledge about certain things. Obviously, if I'm reading a book on editing, it's going to help me smarter in editing, but I think getting wisdom from other people helps you become more wise. And then you're able to kind of navigate life in a different way and take on new perspectives and develop a new mindset about certain things. So in terms of development, learn from other people in a nutshell, really. But I think exercise is important to me. I spoke about exercise a lot, and it makes sense to me to exercise. You guys can listen to the exercise episode about that. And yeah, just in general, just going through life and trying my best. I try a lot, and don't be afraid to try new shit. I think that's the only way you can, in terms of like your own experiences and how you do it personally. You need to be brave enough to try things, even if you suck at them. You're only gonna be good at something if you are willing to suck at it for long enough. Pause. But yeah, it's okay to be shit when you're starting because you're new. Like, you can't be expected to be fantastic at something when you've never done it before. So yeah, don't be afraid to be shit at things. And I think once you have that approach to new tasks and not getting frustrated because you aren't a pro at it within a week or within a day or within a month or even within a year, when you want to develop, it takes time. It does take time. You've got to trade those minutes. Yeah, I don't know if this has been good. I feel like it's been here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, don't be afraid to try shit. And I also wrote down something else as well, which is things take much longer than expected. And I think this causes a lot of people stress because, again, what I said in my journal earlier, I was like, yeah, by this point, I want to be doing this. Or by January 2024, by March 2024, I hope I'm in a new whatever. And, you know, things take longer than expected. And I think it's good to have a 5-year plan or whatever, or a year plan, but don't be pissed if that plan takes longer, as long as it happens within the lifetime. I think that should be the way that you think, because when you think, gotta have kids, have a house, have a wife, whatever, by the time I'm 30 or whatever, it's just going to stress you the fuck out. And it's probably not going to happen that way. Whereas if you go, oh, I hope I do get married and I hope I develop my business, and, you know, I think you're much more likely to be happier on the way getting there. But I've actually quite enjoyed this. I got into the flow of it as it went on. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sam, I hope you listened to this one because, you know, I'm providing content for free. But if you guys enjoyed, please let me know. I'm happy to do this again once Sam's on another out of office. And yeah, check out the TikTok, which is the Podcast Evolve. The emails to podcastevolve@gmail.com. It's the same. Yeah, the Podcast Evolve, TikTok, Instagram. Can't remember if I just said that. Zana Studios, XNDER Studios on Instagram. ZanaStudios.co.uk. Shout out to Sam's company, Anxious Extrovert.co.uk. He's developing new stuff. Sam's honestly the hardest working guy that I know. So please give him some love. Check out his website. Yeah, I want to leave gratitude as well. Thank you guys for being here. It's 25 episodes, and yeah, we're loving it so far. And we hope you guys are too. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about. And take care. Yeah, peace. Have a great week. Bye.